Hello and welcome to GGRecon and our coverage of the RLCS. And who's better to be joined by in a first of many video interviews than Speed? How you doing, man?
Not bad, you?
I am doing very, very good, thank you. And it's not just Speed; it's Liquid Speed. It's been a month since you pick up now, and it's the dust has kind of had a chance to settle. But what was your first reactions like when you signed that contract and was a part of such a big org?
Absolutely over the moon. I think it's very well documented at this stage that this is my dream organ. That I'm still, even though the dust is now starting to settle, it's still kind of whenever I get some drop through in the mail that turns up and they go, "Oh, we just sent you another 8 t-shirts." I turn around and go, "Oh, yeah, I forgot." Just it just kind of hits you again every time. But yeah, and now it's starting to settle. I'm getting more used to it, but I'm still over the moon by it.
Yeah, brilliant. And alongside joining Liquid, you reunited with Fruity back from when you played with him on the bricks. And what would you say that he's like as a teammate on and off the pitch, and what it was kind of like to bring him back and reunite with yourself?
It's a maturity aspect. He's very mature. He's also very funny. I get on with him really well. Um, so that was the main reason why I wanted him back. To be quite honest with you, it was it was that I wanted to be able to have 3 players on a team that we could just be open with. Just kind of if there's an issue, you say it and get it done with, and have no egos hurt. And with Fruity, you definitely get that, and you also get fun in spades as well. So yeah, he's a pleasure to work with.
Yeah, brilliant. And not one to dwell on the past, but we're well into the fall split now, and well into the
Yeah.
stage one, and obviously you guys dropped in the first stage. But what would you kind of say from your point of view that went wrong, and have you kind of found some positives looking back upon it now?
Bad day. Bad day. You know, we there's not really much more to say other than we finished it, and then over the next 2 days, I did something like 8 hours of replay analysis on that day alone, pretty much. Um, we found the issues. It was just a bad day. It was a day of nerves, to be honest with you. Without divulging too much, it was the first time I've ever thrown up before a match. I was really feeling that. Yeah, it was just I think it was nerves that made us play so very passive and just get rolled by these teams that actually didn't have anything to lose. You know, we went up against what was it? It was Fadeaway, Triple Trouble, and Monkeys were the 3 teams we lost to. None of which are RLCS teams of the past. All of which are on the peripheral of getting into top 16 at the time, so they didn't really have anything to lose. Whereas we were a surefire, like everyone goes, "Yep, they're making top 16." Obviously, we're making top 16. So a mixture of us having so much pressure, them having none, um, kind of made an awful potion for us to just kind of choke that day. And it was a bad day. There's no looking over that. But we've got better since.
Yeah, for sure. And then you kind of picked yourselves back up in a way when it came to the grid,
Yeah.
and you lost to the eventual winners, as you kind of touched on Triple Trouble. Do you think that if you would have beat them, then you would have gone all the way in the grid?
Yep. So the way I described the grid was when we lost to Giants 3-0, I got so angry and livid because they didn't play well. We didn't play well, and we still lost 3-0. That was a bad loss. As opposed to Triple Trouble, who were obviously playing really well, and we had the chances. I remember missing like 2 or 3 open nets, that I should have scored. And in my eyes, if the only thing that's missing is putting the ball in the open net, we've played well. That was an okay loss. And as far as winning, winning the tournament, had we played them, I think we would have, because we were hitting good form then. After the loss to Giants, we in that 15 minutes, so everything changed. We became more aggressive. It was a kind of, hey, let's just actually go and win the match as opposed to not losing them. And from then on, we were pretty good. It was looking good. As to whether we would have beaten Oxygen or not, I don't know, but I definitely think we would have beaten Endpoint and got to the final.
Yeah, for sure. And like you say, after that Giants loss, you picked yourselves back up and you you faced off against not only Barca but your former teammate Ronaky. What have you kind of made of his success at Barca and Barca as in general at the minute?
I've always thought he's underrated. I mean, even back on Triple Trouble, he was a top 2 or 3 striker in Europe. He's now still a top 2 or 3 striker in Europe. It's always been that he needed teammates to just give him the ball and he'd put it in. And with Flakes, for example, or Bluey or whatever, these more individually minded players, he would not have as much of the limelight. So he'd always kind of get pushed under the sand. But now he's got a Tapji, who's a very team-based, like passing-oriented player, and exactly the same with Devo. He gets to shine really well, and I think he's seriously looking good as one of like top 5 in Europe right now.
Yeah, for sure. And obviously, with the kind of state of you guys at the minute and taking some tricky results, what is Cooks like in those sort of environments? Obviously, you guys are working coachless at the minute. Would you say that he is that sort of coach figure to kind of pick the team up and overall, what's it like playing with a veteran like him?
As far as coaching goes, that's me.
Yeah.
But as far as the veteran status of him and the ability to play under pressure, there's no one I'd rather have. Like I said, Ronaky's a top 2 or 3 striker. I think Cooks is number 1. Like, I give the ball to Cooks and the ball gets rifled in the top right, and now we're on the kickoff again, and it really is that simple. You know, he's had a couple of off days in the last couple of weeks, and that's fine. It happens to everyone. And as far as his veteran status goes, the reason why we picked up Fruity is to have 3 experienced players who don't choke as readily under pressure as all of these other teams will start to. Because now Triple Trouble, everyone's going to turn around and go, hey, we expect them to play well now. We expect them as the grid champions to play well. And I think that maybe Calix, as an unexperienced player, will struggle. Whereas I don't think we'll ever have that with us. The ability to play under pressure will always still be there, like, from now on. Especially because we've got the biggest hurdle out of the way. That first RLCS is going to be the biggest hurdle out of the way in terms of pressure. But yeah, I think we've seriously got a lot of potential now. Now that the like I said, the biggest hurdles out of the way.
Yeah, for sure. There's a lot more hurdles to kind of come forward, but with this new season, obviously, it's a big shift in the format. And overall, what do you make of not only the new RLCS format, but the introduction of the grid as well?
I'm really happy. It's more matches. It means that yes, we had a bad day, but like we had a bad day with RLCS, but then we can still turn up with a grid each week and still put in a good performance there, and still, you know, tell everyone, hey, we're still good. You know, in the past, especially with like regional week for RLCS in the past, if you were in those regional spots like 3rd, 4th, 5th, or 6th, and you had one bad day, well, you've not made land now. You could have gone 6-2 in league play, but Yankee. You could have gone 6-2 in league play, but you know you've choked it now. You've had one bad day. Whereas with RLCS and the fact that the grid is there as a backup, we can have one bad day in RLCS and still be good for the grid and still put in consistent results in the field and still, you know, get good results and have it not all ride on one day, which is very important, I think, in an ecosystem.
Yeah, for sure. And also, on top of both the grid and the new RLCS format is the introduction of the field as well. I don't believe you guys have played any games in it yet, but what do you kind of make of that added sort of twist onto more games?
Yeah, we literally only just played one last night. That's the first time we played. I really like it. I really like it. My biggest problem with scrims is that teams don't take it seriously because there's absolutely nothing on it. And I think that with the field having a prize pool, it forces teams to want to, you know, and with the results being public, you could publicly see which teams beat which teams. It forces players not only through prize pool but also through pride to actually try properly and try and beat teams, and that means that it's actually very good practice. So now that we've actually got into it, we're going to be playing a lot more of it. That's for sure. I really like it.
Yeah, for sure. And something that definitely helps, well, has been said to help a lot of players outside of outside of tournaments is six mans. Do you still sort of play six mans, and what do you kind of see it kind of have its impact on rising players as well as keeping top players playing consistently?
Yeah, as a person, I float in and out of six mans. I'll go from playing six series a week, 10 series a week to no series for a month. Just kind of, I don't know what causes that, but it's just kind of, sometimes I'll go, oh yeah, time to queue six mans, and then I'll just forget about it for a month, and then I'll go, oh yeah. It's definitely very useful. Like, if you have a choice, but generally people queue six mans when they're not going to be doing the field or anything, obviously. So it means your choice is six mans are ranked. And every pro player, every high level player in the world is going to tell you they want to play six mans. And I, in the first place, got out of this bubble scene thing through six mans. I found Fruity originally on the bricks with Chakron because we were three high-level rank X six mans players, and I think the impact of six mans on the bubble scene is massive. That's where you find who you have synergy with. When you get into a six mans game and you 3-0 three other players who you'd normally struggle with, but you've absolutely battered them because this trio just works. That's how six mans impacts the bubble scene. And as for the pros, it's just better than ranked. It's just something which you can play to keep mechanics warm and have some fun along the way. I think six mans is less important now I'm pro, but was absolutely like paramount when I was trying to get there.
Yeah, for sure. And lastly, just to touch on the grid and that weekly format, what do you kind of think around the lack of scrims because of this? Do you think a lot more teams are going to get found out really quickly, or do you think that teams are still going to be able to innovate and kind of mix things up?
Sorry, what do you mean? I don't quite understand.
With so many games going on and probably a lack of scrims because of it, do you sort of think that teams are going to be found out a lot more and kind of figured out a lot more quickly, or do you think a lot of teams are still going to kind of shift up the focus, if that makes sense?
No, I think in terms of, at the end of the day, you're doing less scrims, but you're doing more tournament games as a result. So it's net neutral. I think the only thing that will change is the viewer aspect of finding out teams. Is that as viewers, you'll see which team is more consistent, which team is less consistent, because obviously scrims have notoriously been very private. As far as pro players seeing other players and working each other out, that will stay the same. That will stay the same. Maybe increase slightly because everyone's going to be trying more readily. Like I said, scrims teams notoriously don't try as hard, or they'll play for half of it and try and then stop because they've played the best of five in it, or you kind of get my idea. I think genuinely, I think it will stay the same apart from viewers being able to see which teams are more consistent. I think that's the only thing that will change.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much, Speed, and you can catch Liquid later on this week playing in the grid.
Thank you.